Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing. I think the issue of economic security for working women is critically important to our nation today as we try to grow our economy. I just had a hearing on my budget committee on this issue last week. What are the policies, what are the things we need to be doing as a nation today to make sure that women can participate fully in the workforce, everything from minimum wage to child care, and I think that we have to be looking at our country to say, what are we doing? So I appreciate your holding this hearing, and to all of our witnesses who are here today. Let me focus my time on a slightly different end of the spectrum for women, and that's retirement security. We know that only about half of the workers in the private sector today have access to an employer-based retirement plan. That is a figure that drops to about 30% for workers in businesses with fewer than 100 employees. And surprisingly, in such a wealthy nation, about 45% of all of our workers have no retirement assets at all, 45%. That is pretty bad news for everyone, but in particular, it does lead to worse retirement conditions for women. Among people 65 and older, women have less retirement income and face a greater risk of poverty than men. And 1 in 3 women today depends on Social Security as their sole source of income. So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that we have a crisis in America today when it comes to retirement for women in particular, and I wanted to open it up to any of you who would like to comment on that. And Ms. Tandon, we'll start with you, and then work. Yeah, if you want to put up your name tags, and we'll go. But Ms. Tandon, start with you.
I agree on the points you're making, and really thank you for your leadership on this issue, Senator Murray, and on issues like universal pre-K and child care that are so critical to working families. I would just note that issues of pay disparity for women have retirement implications, because as women are paid less throughout their career, that accumulates also in having a disparate pay in their retirement benefits, which are tied to salary. So as we look at retirement issues and the real anxiety that so many women, especially older women, have about being able to face retirement, we also need to recognize that what happens in their employment practice and the fact that we still have these disparities replicate themselves in retirement as well.
Thank you. Ms. Pelletier?
Thank you, Senator. In Connecticut, a study was done, and again, we're a wealthy nation. In Connecticut, we're a wealthy state, but 1 out of 4 seniors lives in poverty in Connecticut. If you think about the fact that women as a whole, if over the course of their work career are continually making 23 cents less, basically, you know, on a 40-year work life, they work 10 years for nothing. And so that absolutely has something to do with retirement security. And so in Connecticut this past year, we were able to work with the governor's office and get a study to look at a potential retirement for all state-run, employee-contributed retirement funds, so that people may have a chance to put some money away, because, you know, if people are working 7 or 8 different jobs in their career, they're not staying at the same employer, this would at least give them the security to know that they can still put money in even as they move.
You've implemented that now?
That, yeah, the committee is supposed to convene by July 1st and work and come back with recommendations, specific recommendations. So it's very important. Again, in Connecticut, 1 out of every 4 seniors lives in poverty.
Do you know how many of those are women?
I don't.
Okay. Others, Ms. Bravo?
Making sure that women have access to affordable time for caregiving will also help their retirement income. Fewer people will lose their jobs, and fewer people will lose their income. That affects the pay disparities that Neera was talking about. So that's another thing, and thank you so much for bringing this up.
Yeah, I think sometimes we don't connect all the policies we talk about today that we think are so important, whether it's making sure you have child care so that you can stay at work, whether it's pay equity, how that impacts your finances both today and when you retire. The issue that so many women come in and out of the workforce when they have kids, because our policies today make it tough. What that happens, all of a sudden you're retired and your only source of income is Social Security. I think it's about $13,000, a little more than that, a year for somebody to exist on if their sole source of income is Social Security, and 1 in 3 women, as I said today, depends on that small amount of money. So it's a huge economic issue. Anybody else in my, I am out of time, but this is something I welcome your input on, and I hope that we can focus on this issue, Mr. Chairman.